Welcome, everybody. We hear this term successful aging used quite regularly in retirement communities and throughout the United States. It's kind of the buzzword. Everybody's adopting this. And we have a designation here at Holly Creek that we received through 2 years of hard work. And Holly Creek is the only certified center for successful aging in Colorado. There are only 8 of these communities in the United States, so we're pretty proud of that designation. Question to you all, how many of you have heard of the Blue Zones? Okay. The Blue Zones, there are 5 Blue Zones in the world, and these are areas of the world where they have an increasingly high population of elders that have reached at least 100 years old. And they have found that they all have something in common. Usually it's lifestyle choices, healthy lifestyle choices, great social interaction, great relationships with family. And Okinawa is one of those blue zones. And in Okinawa, they lie about their age. When you ask somebody from Okinawa, how old are you? They always say they are older, because age is well respected. So just to let you in on a little secret, I'm 83. And the youngest member of our panel is 104. So, and okay, Carol has... But what you're going to hear today is some really revealing things about what successful aging should look like. And so I'm going to introduce our panel members. Jack Kelly is 100% Irishman from New York. Okay, so there's somebody here who likes Irish people. Carol Hodges is a Heinz 57. Okay, where are you from, Carol? St. Louis. Okay, so she's still lamenting the Cardinals' loss in the playoffs this year. Jack Hull is a French Englishman, and I'm not sure how that happened, but he is our moderator. And then we have Sydney Harmon here, who is also a Heinz 57 from where?
Sort of all over the place, but I grew up in Guatemala.
Guatemala, okay. So, yeah, that's interesting. And then we have Bob Stong from the country of Indiana. So, please give them a warm welcome, and I'm going to turn this over to Jack Hull.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Well, as he mentioned, successful aging has become a rather popular term that a number of communities use because it has been a very eventful thing for us here at Holly Creek. And it has become obviously a bit trite just as a label. And if it sounds good to say successful aging, that's wonderful. It's what's behind it that is really important. And that's what we're going to share with you today, what successful aging really means to the people of Holly Creek, because it is quite exceptional itself. What does successful aging mean to each of you, and how would you define it? Let's first start with Bob.
Thank you, Jack. I'm from Lafayette, Indiana, and the T-shirt says "Home of Purdue University," a drinking town with a football problem. So, but to me, successful aging is acceptance. I get up in the morning and I thank God for the day. I do some planning, but I'm fortunate that I don't have a lot of physical problems, but I've learned to accept the limitations that is given to an 89-year-old fella. And so to me, it's acceptance. You accept these limitations, and yet you still continue to enjoy the relationship that you have with a small community of people that you have here at Holly Creek. So my idea of successful aging is acceptance, physical limitation, accepting that God gives you another day, and accept all the people that you enjoy working with.
Thank you, Bob. Sydney?
Hi, I'm Sydney, and I'm taking my oxygen off because the microphone picks up that noise. So if I turn blue, call 911 right away. Thank you. Anyhow, I have lived here for 2 years and 2 months, so I'm kind of in this group a newbie. But what successful aging means to me is going to bed every night and getting up every morning and looking forward to the day. Our calendar is so, little more, is that better? Looking forward to the next day. Our calendar is so full of events, it's often hard to pick what to do. At least once a month, we go on a field trip, and I've been to the Earthquake Center, the Botanic Gardens for the Chihuly exhibit. If you all saw that, it was beautiful. The Nature and Science Center for a very interesting program on poisons throughout the world. And to the Brown Palace and Molly Brown House and the Art Museum for a tour of French Impressionistic paintings, to name just a few of the places. Also, once a month, we go out to a different place for dinner. And the lovely thing about it is you don't worry about reservations or parking. The current joke in my family nowadays is you have to make an appointment to see Mom.
That's very usual around here. Our children come here many times to see us and find that we're out doing something and we aren't here. Carol?
Just to tack on to that, my kids, our kids, tell us that we live on a cruise ship because it's just like a cruise ship, except we're not moving in the ocean. We're just here and doing all those kinds of activities. But Jack, I think I began my journey to successful aging quite a long time ago, but I didn't know it. Because of my early environment and a lack of opportunities, well into my 20s, I had a mental picture of myself. And that mental picture was that I was less than other people. In my head, I thought I want to be better than other people. Well, it took a while, and I finally figured out that what I really wanted to be was the best me that I could be. Not less than, not more than, but the very best me. And I could do this by using my knowledge, my passions, my talents, and I didn't consciously connect that with the term successful aging until my husband and I moved here, and we became familiar with what's called the masterpiece living culture. And here at Holly Creek, it provides us so many activities to take part in, and also the availability of establishing new activities. If there's something that we want to do and we can get a bunch of people to do it, we do it. And that enriches our lives. It gives us meaning, it gives us a purpose, and it really gives us an extreme amount of enjoyment. So in my words, the best me is, the successful aging is the best me that I can be at any age.
Very good, Carol. Jack, how about you?
Well, I like to say I've lived here 3 years and I'm a neighbor. And I stress neighbor because we are neighbors to one another. That's integral to the living. Now you get to know people of varying intensities. You know, you have your own similarities and you'll kind of gravitate to that. But everybody here is a neighbor. Analogous to what she said about making the best of life, I would use the theme successful aging. You probably heard this phrase, make the best of the rest. Okay? How do you do that? Well, I went to Jesuit schools and they always said, when you're looking for wisdom, you look to the Greek philosophers. And there was a Greek philosopher, one of them, Heraclitus. He talked about life being like a stream. And from second to second, you couldn't put your foot in the same stream. So you have two options. You watch the flow, or you go with the flow. How can you do that? Well, by participating in all the various activities, and we'll talk about the activities that are of interest to each one of us later on. But I thought I'd refer to a column that Dottie Lamb did about a month ago on Sunday in the Denver Post, Facing the Reality of Aging. So you might be interested in a specific activity, but you can't do it to the same degree that you did because of some, whatever the limitation might be, hearing, eyesight, mobility. And I thought one of the ladies that was there, one of her friends, she had a group of college roommates that stayed together over the years. And this lady said, I can no longer be a cause of change, but I can still be a voice for change. So she could still go to activities, speak up, write letters to the editor. Now, you think you're going to get a free lunch today, but you're not. Because I have some questions for you. And these are questions Dottie Lamb posed. All right. What challenges remain? Which do we have the time and energy for? What do we drop? What can we now accept? So those are the questions you have to work over. And if you work them over successfully, you will get a free lunch.
Well, I didn't know we were going to have that kind of participation, but that's a great idea, Jay. You know, all of us, as we've talked here this morning, we've alluded to the fact that we've found something that we enjoy in life. And I think enjoyment is a real key part of a successful aging. What have you found to do in your current life that gives you that enjoyment and that satisfaction that life demands? Carol, what about you?
Well, there's so many activities here at Holly Creek that I enjoy, and many of these are inspired by the Masterpiece Living culture that permeates everything that goes on here. And they help me use my talents, they help me use my knowledge, and they also allow me the opportunity to grow in ways that I never even envisioned growing as a senior citizen. And I'm going to just talk about a few in which I am involved. First, my experiences as a college professor and as an administrator helped prepare me, when I came here, to become a member of our volunteer advisory committee and to be elected as the first woman, yay, chairperson of our resident association board. Go women. Also, as a professor, I served on several editorial boards. These experiences helped prepare me to become the editor of the Holly Creek Quarterly Writer's Journal. I've always loved books. I worked in libraries through my high school and my undergraduate college years, so it's not surprising that I volunteer as the director of our 6 libraries. You heard right, we have 6 libraries here. And I am a member of the book club. I know many of you have book clubs, and Holly Creek has a book club. Because I'm really, really passionately interested in aging successfully, I am a co-chair, along with my husband, Hugh Petrie, who's sitting back there with the blue sweater on, and our friend, Jack Hull, who's sitting right here, of the Holly Creek Successful Aging Group. But I never want to stop learning. So I attend a small conversations group that talks about things that we all care about. I go to the wireless word discussion group. Here we talk about things that in the international community. And then there are lectures and presentations, as well as the many trips that Sydney alluded to, including plays and concerts. So these are just a few of the things that Holly Creek has provided for me and has helped me begin to get a lot of enjoyment out of life.
Very good, Carol. Sydney, what about you?
Well, I don't know exactly where to start, but I think I've got it down. I really think I've enjoyed the social life here. When I first moved to Holly Creek, at the urging of my friend Jack Kelly over there, he told me to start coming to breakfast, which I do almost every day. And it's a wonderful way to start your day with interesting people and very good food. And my favorite is biscuits and gravy on Fridays with an egg over easy. And ladies, I've gained a few pounds since I moved here. But that's the breaks of the game. There are just so many fun things to do. As Carol mentioned, I go to the Writer's Circle, where we aspiring authors try to get our works published in the Writer's Journal. There are morning socials, coffee socials, TGIF parties with music. Those last not as long as our TGIFs used to last, but they are fun. We have some pretty good dancers too. So anyhow, and I also go to book club, and we do a new book every month. And twice a month we have Wired Word, where we discuss, as Carol mentioned, topics of interest. Believe it or not, we even had a session on Caitlyn Jenner, so there seems to be nothing off limit around here. If you like games, we have very many different choices. Hand and foot, rummy cube, cribbage, Mexican train, and of course, my addiction is bridge. 3 times a week, we have morning chat groups in Bistro. And for the athletes, we have hot games of pickleball and a mile form croquet on our putting green. We have our very own radio station, WKRP, which has all kinds of shows. We come over our own TV sets. So that's been a great addition. Bob, Jack, and both announce on it. I'm learning the ropes so I can fill in it when I'm needed. But one of the favorite things here is dinner. I know many seniors love to complain about food, and I could say that a little more strongly, but our menu is wonderful and varied. And yes, once in a while you get something you don't like, but I wasn't the best cook in town, and you can ask my kids about that too. But I am forever amazed at how fun people are around here and how good our conversations are. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob?
I think one of the things that I enjoy here is security. Now, I'm not talking about somebody throwing a rock through the window or anything else, but one of my greatest joys, I've been married for 65 years, and my wife and I moved in while we were still ambulatory, and now we have that security that she's in a community and she's well known, so that if something happens to me or something happens to either one of us, which is going to, we have the other spouse has a community that they understand, that they know all about. Now, the other enjoyment I get is I've never been a radio announcer, and I decided that I would take part in the radio. So I refer to myself as this is your neighbor, Bob Stong. And so I announce on Wednesday at 8, 9, and 10 what's happening for the day. We have a number of people that have low vision, and they can't see our Channel 22 monitor that comes on in their television set. So we announce so that their people can understand what's going to happen that day and give them some idea of what the day's activity. So I enjoy that. I enjoy the radio. And one of the things living here at Holly Creek, I got to thinking this morning, we've got 2 or 3 new shows that we're having people call in. We don't have a telephone that I can put people on hold while I'm talking to someone else. So I've decided this morning, I haven't talked to Jack or I haven't talked to the 8 or 10 other announcers, but I said we're going to have a meeting and get ourselves organized and get us a telephone that we can put people on hold. Now, those are the challenges that I enjoy here at Holly Creek, and we have a lot of fun. And I've volunteered for the Low Vision group. I lead that group, and I also get a kick out of, I donate quarters on every other Thursday. I call bingo for the people that are in the assisted living area. So there's all kinds of participation, but the fun part is being a part of the community.
Well, thank you, Bob, for not only what you've said, but being a part of our community. Bob and his wife, Ann, helped make this such a wonderful place. Well, you know, they've mentioned the 4 measurable components of Masterpiece Living. And the reason I say measurable is that's one of the benefits of Holly Creek and being a part of Masterpiece Living. In these 4 areas, we have an opportunity to measure how we're doing as far as our life is concerned in the areas of our physical being, our intellectual challenges and our intellectual growth, our spiritual life, which of course is extremely important to everybody. And probably the most masterful thing is the social aspects of our life here. Has any one of the four been, which one of these four have been the most important to you in achieving what you call successful aging? Jack?
Yeah. Thank you, Jack. I would say it's social, and it's what I call meet and greet. I thoroughly enjoy just walking the halls, talking to some. Of course, you talk more than others, but I'm active on the. I was the last male elected chairperson of the residence board. Hold till this revolutionary. She's replaced me. Okay. I'm still a vice chairperson or something. Chair and vice, right. I'm an announcer on the radio. We have a thespian group here. That's our actors group. We have scripts, some of the scripts written by our neighbors right here. Jack Hull writes scripts. Hugh Petrie has wrote a couple of scripts, Norm. And then some of them we take and do. We did an excerpt from a Moliere play, an excerpt from one of Oscar Wilde's plays. And we had a couple of skits, I think, from Carol Burnett show. So we have the thespian group. And incidentally, this Christmas time, for a second year in a row, we're going to have a cast of thousands because we're going to do Christmas Carol for the second time. And in addition to that, as like with Sydney, we have a breakfast group of anywhere to 8 to 12 or 14 each morning, and it's a great way to get started. We also have a group, various people sit with, the people that they know well, but I generally sit in the evening with 5 or 6 other people for dinner. So you really don't want for company. Now we have if you don't want to go out of your apartment or don't want to engage, that's perfectly up to you. The whole theme is do whatever you want. So I would say it's a social, Jack.
Good. Thanks, Jack. Carol?
It's hard for me to choose one, so I chose 2. And as I reflect back on the 2.5 years that my husband and I have lived here, I think that the first one that has been the most important for me is intellectual. And that's because even during the years when I felt that I was less than most people, I was happiest if I was learning or if I was teaching or if I was organizing. And so that is no coincidence, of course, that I'm involved in the activities that I mentioned earlier. But I do have to say, along with Jack, that the second component is social. Anyone who knew the less than me would be very surprised to hear that, because I was incredibly shy and quiet. And Sydney's laughing because nobody who knows me here knows me as shy and quiet. But that's because I found a purpose. I found meaning, I found enjoyment in my life, and that opened up my ability to better relate to other people in a social way. I think that Holly Creek is one of the friendliest places that I have ever lived in. You can't walk down the hall and not get a smile or a hug, or a smile and a hug. I like to hug. All of the intellectual activities which I mentioned earlier provide social interaction as well. So I'd have to say that social and intellectual go hand in hand here at Holly Creek.
Very good, Carol. Carol mentioned the fact that it's a very happy place with lots of smiles, which reminds me of a little story that one of the friends of one of our residents here came and looked at Holly Creek and also looked at one of the other retirement communities in the area, and she chose the other community. So this friend went over and had lunch with her one day, and she said, I'm kind of curious, why did you select so-and-so instead of Holly Creek? And she said, I just couldn't stand all those smiling, happy people. Go figure. Yeah, go figure on that. Okay, Bob?
Well, I think probably the most inspiring area that I feel here at Holly Creek is this is a Christian community. And it's difficult to explain it, but the people here all seem to have some sort of a Christian relationship with one another. This is a small community when you consider some of the larger retirement centers. And my enjoyment here is religion. I've never spent more time listening and participating in Bible study and the work. It isn't pushed on you. It's just part that you can come in voluntary and participate. And I find in this area of Holly Creek, religion is really fun. And that's basically my contribution. I get a kick out of the Christian community here.
That's the spiritual dimension, and I know that's outlined there through religious services and so forth. But, you know, there are other spiritual considerations, and I know Carol has a thought on that.
I do have another thought on the spiritual component, because neither my husband nor I are members of any organized religion, but we still have been welcomed to Holly Creek with open arms and smiles. You see, we're spiritual agnostics, so we see a different side of spirituality. Years ago, I was reading and I saw a sign that says, "Wherever you go, there you are." And I said, "What? What could that possibly mean?" It took me a long time to figure out what that meant. And what the writer was talking about was being mindful, being in the present, finding a place that frees yourself from all that noise that's in your head. And I think you probably know what I'm talking about, because very often we do find ourselves worrying and stressed and anxious. And I know that for Bob and many, many other people who are here, religion is a path to do that. But for many of us, we have activities such as meditation, walking along a quiet trail, listening to music, gardening, things like yoga. These are other paths to spirituality at Holly Creek.
Okay, thanks, Carol. Sydney?
You know, I think besides the social, I love the educational opportunities that we have. My parents were lifelong learners, and I always have tried to follow in their footsteps. Besides the Writers' Circle and the book club, I try to attend as many documentaries as possible and lectures. We had a wonderful series of lectures on the Civil War, and this month we had a one-woman show, or last month it was, I guess, on Eleanor Roosevelt. Before that was over, I felt like we were really talking to her. She dressed like her, talked like her. It was just really fun. Also, we've had a series on the rise and fall of the Roman Empire right in the theater right across from us. And nobody's mentioned the movies we have, but Thursday night and Sunday at 3 o'clock with popcorn, we have really some very, very good movies and fairly recent. Not that that's terribly educational, but it can be. The lifelong learning with George Plimpton is excellent. And and we had Active Minds came, and in our theater we had a thing on Palestine and Israel, the history of our problems there. And that was really fascinating. So we have every opportunity in the world here for education.
You know, it's amazing as you look at the schedule that you see on Channel 22 here, the numbers of things that you have to choose between each day. There's things going on, and it's difficult sometimes to get to everything that you'd like to do. But there's always something that's extremely fascinating and very helpful in helping us age successfully. One of the last questions I'd like to ask each of you on the panel is, how have you avoided the too common syndrome, "I'm retired, I've been there, done that," as the excuse for not getting involved or taking on a responsibility? How do you stay motivated? Sydney?
Well, I find that question a little strange myself, but I don't think motivations is an absolute problem with me. There's still so much to do, new people to meet, and new things to learn. Finding quiet time is what I have a little trouble with. But I would like to share a story with you. When I moved here, my oldest daughter said, "Mom, you're too young to move there." Just a couple of months ago, she said to me, "Mother, thank you so much for moving to Holly Creek. I know that you are happy, busy, but most particularly, I know that you are safe." I found that very touching. She was having friends her age that have parents that just don't seem to plan to do anything in their later life while they're still young enough actually to enjoy new things. So I find everything here rewarding and very happy to be here. One other thing, I have a dog. And he is just as happy to be here as I am. He knows everybody that'll give him a treat, and he's after them all the time. Thank you.
Okay, Bob.
I've been retired about 30 years. And one of the psychological changes, when you're working, you're usually in a group and you're accomplishing something, you're working together, and then all of a sudden you're retired and you're stuck out there alone and you don't have your buddies with you, you don't have the group to accomplish, and that's not the case here. Every committee we have is a group of people all thinking and all working together. So one of the things that you'll never understand is you're retired when you're here. There's too many things to do and too many people want to help you. And just the example, I sat this morning and I said, with these call-in shows and the way our telephone's limited, we've got to have a meeting and get ourselves organized on the radio so that we can expand it. And that's the thing you constantly face around here with all the committees and everything, all the activities.
Great, thanks, Bob. Jack?
Well, I would answer the question, how do you, say I'm retired, I'm not going to do it. Time and time again throughout life, you have something, should I do it? And you have inertia. So you have to fight that inertia. Two incidents come to mind. About 2 months ago, a lady here started a group. I said we are neighbors. This is an epitome of what it means to be a neighbor. We have some sections here of people that are over in assisted living. They formerly were here. So Joe Pruitt decided, hey, let's start a group, and she called it Friends Meeting Friends. And she now has organized only women right now, I'll get to that point, to go over and visit people. She called me the other day, said, Jack, would you get a few more men involved? Well, my first reaction would be, I don't want, okay. So I said, okay. So, Jack, I'm going to hopefully, with your permission, make a pitch at the men's club for more men to go over there. Then the other incident, I'll finish very quick. The other incident is the movie, The Bucket List. Well, one neighbor here said, let's start a club called the Bucket Gang. And because some of us took a trip over in a balloon, Jack was in it, in a balloon over Cherry Creek. And now, are we going to go to Mars next? I think so.
Yeah, that's the plan. No. Carol?
This is probably the hardest question for me to answer because I, like Sydney, find it very hard to sit still unless I'm reading a book or meditating. There are just almost too many activities and opportunities here at Holly Creek to not get involved in something, or in my case, almost everything. The Masterpiece Living Program at Holly Creek provides a successful aging culture, and that means that it permeates everything that we do. I'm certain that it's going to continue to reinforce what I currently do and is going to provide new opportunities for growth in the future. One of the important takeaways that I have finally realized, took me a while. Here at Holly Creek, I matter, I have value, and I am aging successfully. I have found meaning and I have found purpose in my life, which I maybe wouldn't have had before. And I'm the best me that I can be at any age. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol. You know, it's so true. There are so many things here at Holly Creek that reaffirm our value at this age. And I think that's so extremely important for all of us to always be mindful of the fact that we're still very valuable human beings. And in this fifth stage of our life, to be living as fully and really to be living and living a very excited and a very satisfying, happy life. And I think that in itself is truly successful aging.